Okay, so say baby is going to be brain dead forever.
Mm-hmm.
And doctors know this 100% for sure,
Mm-hmm.
that baby is going to be brain dead and then die.
Okay.
Is it okay to abort the baby?
No.
Why not?
Because now you're placing a utilitarian value on that child.
Yeah, but if there was an old guy,
Uh-huh.
the family would make the decision on whether to pull the plug if they were never going to wake up and were brain dead.
That's a very different...
So what's the difference?
Those are very different acts. In other words,
So?
one is a passive and one is an active form of killing. And so and I mean, killing of death. And so, in other words, one is a passive...
Why does that matter?
I think it matters in a huge degree.
Yeah, but
Because if someone is brain dead, right?
Uh-huh.
We have an older person, use your example, that's brain dead, then to remove life support from them, okay, is actually it's passive. Okay? So in other words, yes, I am going to remove what is keeping that person alive through life support, but I'm not actively killing them. It's the difference between passive and active euthanasia. We allow passive euthanasia to happen in this country on a daily basis, but active euthanasia is not allowed.
Okay, so if the doctor went in and snipped the umbilical cord, kind of like unplugging the machine to the baby because it's going to be brain dead, is that the same thing?
Yeah, but what happens in an abortion is not that, and you know that. Like, it's one thing to induce labor.
Okay.
Right? Knowing the child's going to die from a medical emergency. But this isn't that. This is like you would have to, so you're going to abort the baby. And so an abortion most often is, so whether it's chemicals, whether it's mutilation, it's horrific.
Yeah.
The act of abortion. So that's what I'm saying is that's an active process.
Okay, so if
taking a life.
If the baby was brain dead and they induced labor at like 8 months, and then they stuck brain dead baby on a machine just to passively unplug the machine so that baby would die when it was brain dead, is that why go through all that instead of...
Because I think there's, it's interesting you talk about.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I was talking to my wife about this without really even knowing this question was there. I was talking to my wife about this topic the other day, and she said, that the idea of being able for a woman to be able to give birth to that child, hold that child, and kind of have a sense of closure with that child is a huge difference between it helps it actually can be helpful for the woman. Okay, because if you're talking about the child's brain dead, let's say parents were wanting this child, the child's they know the child's brain dead and the child's not going to survive long, if at all, once born, then those parents are already devastated enough.
Okay.
So they're wanting a child now that, and so at least give the parents the opportunity to hold that child, to love that child. And, and depending on, if they're religious, there's actually, ceremonies and liturgy to walk through with that stuff. Even if they're not religious, there's still just the sense of, I can hold that child, have a sense of closure, with that child, say goodbye. They may have already named the child at that point, but say goodbye to that child, that kind of thing. And so I think that's actually healthy, whereas, man, you already experienced loss and now we're going to, have an abortion. And I mean, you're kind of I feel like you're kind of piling up suffering and grief even more so. So
yeah.
And again,
it feels like illogical to me to go through all these unnecessary steps instead of stopping the inevitable.
Yeah, but okay, but so to be clear,
okay,
if we're talking about we know that child is brain dead,
yeah,
like we're already you understand how far along in the process we are developmentally,
right?
So the abortion that's done is not just at best you could induce labor, like you were talking about.
Okay, so if we didn't call that an abortion and we called that inducing labor, to get the process going, do you have a problem with that?
Here's the problem I guess I have is if it started becoming an issue health-wise for the mother, obviously that's fine.
Okay,
go ahead and do that. But there's also the reality that there's tests and things that doctors do even now, and they think it's going to end up being one way, and then it doesn't. Like they think that child may have special needs, be handicapped, be deformed, have Down syndrome, whatever it may be, and then the child is born, and that's not the case. So it's not. In other words, that's not a perfect science either.
Okay.
And so I guess I would just hesitate to say yes to that because you don't want to risk something if that child may actually be healthy.
Okay.
Right. Now, again, once we're into the latter part of a third trimester, that child can be viable outside of the womb.
Okay.
And so therefore you get into the position of where it's not as great of a risk to the mother or to the child.
To what?
To induce labor.
Okay.
Right. But even then, especially if it's early part of the third trimester, you're still talking about, if they induce labor, the child lives, then you're talking about that child being in the NICU for quite a long time. Like you get into all that different stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
I just think allowing it to naturally play its course is probably the best option.